Welcome back, everyone, to animesavants. This week, I am Violet.
Oh man, who should I be this week? I guess this week I'll be Isagi since that's the last thing I watched.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, as y'all know, there's a lot of stuff. We're not going through what we did the past 2 episodes. Like, it's not going to be like that. It can still be a long episode, but it's not going to be one after another, after another, after another. So, okay, let me just get this out the way, like, real quick. Handyman Saitou is on some other shit. Like, it really... I thought I was getting, like, wholesome isekai. Them niggas are, like, depravity. Comedy. Non-stop. From a mushroom shaped like a dildo penis to the old wizard literally sucking it and be like, it tastes good, right? Like, it tastes really good. You should taste it. Nigga just sucking the fucking mushroom penis dildo. And this shit is not what I expected from this show at all. I'm not mad about it. But holy shit. That from there's a ninja who has shadow binding technique who just goes around killing niggas. If he catches you in the desert, he touches your shadow and he kills you. So one day he touches a witch's shadow and she's like, I'm sending you to the demon realm, bitch. You're not killing me. Send him to the demon realm. He comes back with like one punch. You know, like the monsters from like season 1, One Punch Man? Like how like defined and like muscular. He comes like with 2 of them niggas and they're like, Aniki, let's get this bitch. Like we're gonna get her. Let's go, let's go, let's go. He touches her shadow. She doesn't expect it. Starts making out with the girl. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? But also, I love it. I love it. I fucking love it. It's so ridiculous that it's just like, it's just a really good fucking ride. So I have to get that out the way. Handyman Saitou is not what they make it seem. And that's a good thing. But okay. All right. So, jeez, man. That's not all the gags. I didn't tell y'all every gag. That's 2 from 1 episode. The 3rd episode was non-stop comedy gags. One after another, after another, after another. And they all fucking hit. And they were all super fucking ridiculous. And then at the very end, they opened up the actual story. And they were like, this is where the story starts. So, yeah. Handyman Saitou, it's great. I highly recommend it for everybody. Everybody. But, yeah. What have you been watching?
A few things. So this season, the expected like high quality shows are high quality. I think my favorite so far is actually Trigun.
Oh yeah. I need to actually watch it because after you said last week that it's literally like remake, not reboot. Or like
it's
sequel.
Definitely remake. I mean,
yeah. By
the 3rd episode, if you are someone who is familiar with the canon of Trigun, either the manga, Trigun Maximum, which is the sequel, or the original anime, this is still a very valuable watch because it's different in a lot of ways from everything that came before.
How's the CG holding up?
Oh, it's great. It's good and entertaining to watch. Colorful, a lot of like good fluid movement, unexpected things. I think we've talked about how the directing in this series takes very good advantage of 3D cameras to set up shots that either feel cinematic or they feel like they would only really be possible with a 3D environment.
Mm-hmm.
And they spent the first 3 episodes kind of in the same space, but even with all that, there's a lot of variety, and they change the tone and the color palette because the 3rd episode rather takes place mostly at night, or at least half of the episode is at night, so that kind of changes everything up. But I want to get into a little bit of the what the differences are between all 3. So one of the big changes is the timeline and the I guess in some way the age of some of the main characters. So Vash is presented as being a little bit younger, just like his design.
He looks like it.
Yeah, he's presented as being a little bit younger than he is in the anime. We haven't met Millie yet. Instead, it's mostly been focusing on the events that happened before the massacre in the city of July. And so one of the interesting parts about it is that if you ever watch the original series, that so what happens is Vash gets to a fight with Knives in July. Knives takes over his arm because, you know, of their secret background.
Alien stuff. Genes,
So technically Vash, this is all spoilers for the original, but it's important
you warned
because
them like 2 weeks ago.
But it also, because of how they've changed the order of events in this series, it's actually not spoiling much because you find this out in like episode 2.
Okay.
But Knives and Vash are both sentient plants, so that's something you don't find out until the middle of the main. You kind of get hints at it that he has some special connection with the plants, because he'll go from city to city and he'll like fix them, or he'll be able to sort of communicate with the core of the plant, which is like it's always presented as kind of like this ethereal thing that's powering it. But you don't find out that him and Knives are actually both sentient plants until about halfway through, and then you meet the Gung Ho Guns, which is Knives' faction of like crazy superpowered killers who are all devoted to Knives in like a very religious type of a way. Oh. And then the latter half of Trigun, the original Trigun animated series, is kind of Vash taking on the various Gung Ho Guns until he decides, based on things that happen in the plot, that he actually has to take down Knives, who he's kind of been like running away from for most of the series, or at least being chased by for a variety of reasons. And so that's like the structure. The first half is adventures to get to know the world and of like Gunsmoke and him running away. You don't know anything about Vash. Second half, you've kind of learned his backstory and you know about his relationship with Knives, and now it's him versus Knives in this sort of, crazy and his crazy assassins who all have like special powers. In the new series, by episode 3, which was the last episode, we have already been introduced to the Gung Ho Guns, because EM the Mine, who is one of the first or second that Vash ever runs in. No, he's not the second. He's probably like the third or the fourth. Shows up in episode 3 to steal the plant again on behalf of Knives. And by the end of the episode, Knives himself has shown up, as have 3 other members of the Gung Ho Guns, to take out the city. Mad people get killed, like regular civilians get eviscerated by Knives, who now literally controls like flying blades that make like tentacles and other things, and he can control them. He literally rips the plant apart to get to the core, and then steals it, both the dead one and the living one, which is a plot. So this is another thing that's very interesting. So in the manga, the anime and the manga don't actually have the same ending. In the manga, Knives is trying to absorb all of the plants that are on Gunsmoke so that he can essentially like create a arc which he uses to finish killing all the humans on the planet. And it actually happens. Like, he's able to absorb a lot of them. He creates the arc. There's a whole second storyline where some other sentient plants come from Earth as part of a response force, but one of them gets mentally dominated by Knives, and so it sets up like the final showdown of like Vash, this like angelic like plant female who's like an enforcer from Earth, and so it brings in a lot of the sci-fi elements that exist outside the world of Gunsmoke, which is very like post-apocalyptic and kind of like Mad Max inspired. But in the manga, you get this whole other introduction to like the hard sci-fi at the core of what Trigun is, because Trigun is actually it's a hard sci-fi series. It's just kind of like the story takes a detour. It's a slow build. Well, they don't tell you a lot of information at the beginning, so you don't know anything about why are there humans on this world, because they let you know that they are colonists and something went wrong. But other than that, you don't really ever, outside of flashbacks, find out that there's like this big, super high-tech galaxy of humans doing things. It's all super localized until kind of the end of the manga when the rest of the culture is exposed a bit more. And there's a final showdown, and Vash ultimately decides like not to kill Knives, and they go and like they live on a farm and whatever. In the anime though, they cut all of that like last act, and instead of Knives creating the arc, he basically tracks down Vash on the farm where he's living with Millie and what's her name? Why am I forgetting? Because she's in whatever. But they track down Vash, and they have their kind of like final Meryl. They track him down, and there's like a final fight where Vash goes off, and it kind of leave it open ended as to whether or not there's a happy ending or otherwise. Mm-hmm. But there's no arc. There's no Earth plants showing up. There's none of that shit happens. So in this current season, by episode 3 of the new Trigun, they've brought in a lot of elements that don't even get discussed in the anime until the original adaptation, until the kind of like the latter half. And basically, it's a lot of stuff from Trigun Maximum mixed in early. So like in this one, Meryl meets Vash before the July incident. Mm-hmm. They do all this stuff in the town. They move the showdown with Gothsef and his dad, the guy, basically like the dumb cyborg that can shoot his hand. That happens very early in the original, but it all happens after July. By the end of this 3rd episode, they've destroyed the town. Knives has taken 2 of the plants. We've basically been introduced to most of the gung-ho guns. One of the gung-ho guns has already been killed, which, I mean, that's a big change. E.g. the Mind doesn't really die until like the 10th or 11th episode, and it's part of a big thing with many of the other mercenaries who are trying to kill Vash. In fact, in the anime and the manga, E.g. the Mind kills 2 of the gung-ho guns that Vash already beat by the time he meets him. So the fact that they've taken that character, taken that showdown, and moved
and those other 2 are still alive in
theoretically, or I mean, I'm assuming they are, but I haven't looked at like the casting list and know if they're even going to show up in the series or not. Like, I don't know. But and I always said before in episode 1, they got a tease of Nicholas Wolfwood already in somewhere in the world, because the camera pans past like a truck or a transport that looks like it's got the big coffins that he carried around that have all his like weapons and shit in it. They already teased that, and again, that's a character you don't meet till much later in the story. And then at the end of episode 3, he you know, the town's destroyed. All the people are kind of like, they're sort of blaming him for bringing Knives there and fucking everything up. And then the episode ends on Vash telling Meryl that he's going east to the city of July, which still exists. So clearly they've reordered a lot of the events so that probably the destruction of July is going to happen, and they even teased it in this episode
it'll be
by
like
having
the mid-season climax or something like that.
Right, exactly. Or maybe it's early. I mean, at this point, I could see them kind of skipping a lot of the character development with like Millie and Meryl and some of the side stories, and moving up the conflict with Knives and the gung-ho guns to be the meat of the series, which would leave time if they want to go do like the arc and some of the earth plants and all that other stuff to show up in like a 24 episode series and not have it feel like rushed. They could do that, which I think is very interesting, because now if you put all 3 stories together, the original manga, the anime, and the first anime, and now this second adaptation, all 3 of them are different.
Okay.
All 3 are different from each other. So I think it's super cool. It means that you don't really, even if you're a fan and you're very familiar with like Trigun lore, Trigun, you know, storylines, the manga, the anime, you could watch this and still be surprised, because you don't necessarily know where they're going with it.
Okay. Well, then that's good. I mean, at least they're experimenting with it and not just being like, we're going to follow the manga exactly, and that's it.
Yeah,
which
and
I
even
mean that
and
does work.
Yeah.
Brotherhood, like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, that does work also. Which they probably did something different. I didn't even know, but
well, remember what Brotherhood did? It was to give time for all the stuff that was in the manga. They basically just skipped the first 2 arcs. Right, because Brotherhood starts with them already in the capital, right?
Yeah,
but in the original anime and in the manga, there's a bunch of shit that they meet the homunculi before they get to the capital. Like there's a whole there's like 2 arcs or arc and a half between that, so they start there, having already become state alchemists, and that was a way because Brotherhood was it 52 episodes?
It was in the 50s, yeah.
Yeah, so Brotherhood got the traditional 2-season treatment, and that they still kind of had a lot of material that they cut, both in the beginning and in some of the middle, to make all of the stuff in the manga really fit into that. So I actually kind of like the idea of what they're doing with Trigun Stampede, because it feels like the rebuild of Evangelion in a way, where it's the original creators involved. It is bringing in elements that were not included in the original, or I am assuming anyway, that it's bringing in some elements that based on like time and everything else. So in a way, it's more faithful to the original story, but it's also kind of getting remixed. And I also like Vash's physical redesign. Like he still has like the hair, but the hair is more natural looking. It's like a very 2023 fuckboy haircut, which I like. Actually, I think
he does look like a fuckboy.
Yeah, but it's cool. Like it's if the fuckboys were actually as cool as they thought they were, that's what they would look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm feeling it.
Cool. So what did you think of Giant Beasts of
I
Mars?
had a lot of fun in episode 3.
Yeah.
So we've gotten out of the city. And
They honestly, I didn't expect them to pick up the rest of the cast this fast.
Well, they don't have a lot of time. That's the thing. It is.
Oh,
I think we talked about this last time. It's only 12.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, it kind of they probably have to, even if it's not like, even if it means that you gotta like jam a lot of shit together. But in episode 3, I think my favorite stuff was all the chapeau stuff. So like when we meet the other cat person, but they've got a dog on their head.
Oh my
god!
That moment
where she's like, he hit him with a nyan nyan. He was like wan wan. It was like, okay, so are the animals mind controlling these clones now, or like what the fuck is this? It's weird, but I like it.
Yeah, it is weird, and I feel like they have knowledge of the world, more so than the people or the humanoid. Are the humans, the lycanthropes, they have more knowledge than the average person. Because he definitely knows about the ring that he gave 22, whatever her name is.
Kumi.
Yeah, Kumi, yeah. I also really like, now that I caught up, the little side plot with the flower lady actually being an ex-paladin.
Which is cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And then the old guy like being there, and she's like, "I'm not doing this shit. Like you get out of my shit. You go deal with it. Like I'm chilling here." And then even the fact that they didn't even have to speak on it when he asked her like, "Oh, do you know where they're at?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, they got taken." She was like, "Here, take this plant and eat this." And nothing was said. It was just like a quick little flashback.
He knew what it was. She knew what it was. It's like, that's some paladin shit.
Exactly. And that's all I needed. I didn't need them to be like, her backstory is tragic and you'll never see this character again. It's like, no, like we got what we needed out of her. We're moving on. With the lycanthrope village, I thought that was cute. I also thought I like how they're doing the world building, how they're just throwing it in there. They're throwing like random stuff at us, like a bit by bit, with the little girl being one of the only female lycanthropes, and then also that she has like a special power. Because at one moment I was thinking, I was like, is she a natural born maiden? Or what do they call them? Cleric?
Shoot.
One of those.
It's like clerics, yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking, can they be naturally born? Do they not have to be like created?
Yeah, it's clerics.
But she wasn't. She was just, a little girl with special powers in a primarily like male dominant village, which made me think like, oh my god, like the women in that society are ran the fuck through probably. But
well,
that's besides the point.
They go that dark, but it's possible.
Yeah. But they all, I mean, they made it lighter how they were just like, you know, everyone in the village raises everyone. Like, it's not just oh, that's an orphan and we, you know, we don't fuck with that kid. It's an orphan. Ew. So I like that. I like I saw the, whatchamacallit that you were talking about last week, the three-eyed ones, or when he saw the thing where his partner died. And also the fact that the guy who told him to like run or like leave her showed up in the city with his cleric, but they didn't cross paths.
Right.
So they're building something up with that. And then they're also, the red-eyed beasts are not common.
Right.
That's also a thing that's being like stated recently. So I'm interested to see like what's gonna happen. Like, where are we going overall? Because typically I would have thought homegirl from the castle would have ran into him or some shit by now and been like, you're my rival, or like, I know who you are, you deserted, blah, 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 or something like that. That's probably coming, but with the pacing with how fast they picked up homeboy, I was thinking that like she would be out in the field already, as opposed to just like still in the castle. But overall, it's I think by the end of it, it's definitely all gonna make sense and it's gonna be great and stuff like that. But like currently, I'm just like, okay, we're world building, we're still like, you know, we're getting there. But is the entire last half going to be like action nonstop, 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 nonstop? Or is it going to be high, low, high, low, high, low, high? Which, either way, I'm fine with it. I'm just not really sure where we're going.
Yeah, this is not a series that really leans too heavily into its own hype. You know, I think I said this the last time we chatted about it, but there is a concerted effort to do consistent world building, even sometimes at the expense of the sort of speed of the plot, or just getting to whatever the next step is. I think like in episode 2, they kind of took a little bit of a detour because they deliberately separated all of the characters from each other, and so you had to have the moment of Jiro, like, so you know, when Jiro realizes that his spear is somewhere else and he's like, ah, fuck, and then he has to like go back, look for them, they're not there. Now we, the audience, already know what is the fate of Kumi, right? But we also know that it's kind of part of the plan to like get Jiro to reconnect with, because he was out. He was like, I'm done. So because the show sometimes takes its time outside of just getting to the next major plot point, it leaves all this space to do subtle and sometimes not so subtle intrigue and world building, which is hard to do. And in series that are much less confident in you know, whatever they got going on, you don't see it as much. It tends to get glossed over. That's kind of where plot holes pop up. So you can imagine, right, that in a worse show, Jiro loses his spear, and then we don't get the interstitial scenes of him waking up, realizing it's not there, going up the hill, realizing they're not in the ship, going back to the city, asking around, finding the woman who's the paladin, getting the wink of the nod, the setup, him going onto the ship. Like, you don't get any of that. He would just teleport onto the ship to get his spear back. And that's a choice to do that with the time that you have.
Honestly, that reminds me of Fina. Fina did that shit all the time.
The problem with Fina was how it ended. Yeah. That was the issues. A lot of people have very high hopes for that series, in the last 3 episodes, like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. So it's always a possibility that could happen. The other thing I like is that they are constantly evolving a B and a C plot at the same time, which is important, so that you could, when you get done with one set of characters, or you're kind of like over it, or we've seen enough, you can switch over to another set of characters. And they're
making the scientist dude very interesting. I'm very intrigued on like how involved he is with the experimentation, the creation of Kumi. What the fuck is he eating regularly? Why are they not chasing them? Like, all that kind of stuff. He keeps giggling and laughing, which means he definitely knows way more. I mean, he definitely knows more than we do, but like, what does he know compared to the main cast that makes him so calm about all the situations that's going on?
And the central question still has not really been answered. And maybe, you know, and it's funny because they might not wind up answering is like, why are the giant beasts attacking it with more frequency? Because that's sort of like the
terrestrial giant beasts, because they were saying
right. Yes, true.
Yeah, they were saying the aquatic ones don't even fuck around with humans. They just exist. So yeah,
and they gave us sort of more of the mythology around what's going on. Oh, the humans stole the whatever from the gods and da-da-da. And it's like, maybe that's true. I doubt it's going to be that simple. So that's like
I saw a church, and I already immediately hopped to nope, y'all didn't tell me the real story. We are like, here we go. It's probably one of the main reasons why Homeboy left.
The evil church is a very common. But we don't know what's going on with the imperial family because see what I'm saying is like the princess is off. Like, she shows up maybe once or twice an episode to get a update and to worry on camera about what the fuck is going on. Kirisu is, like, cackling in the back, like, ooh, yes, all according to plan, or I don't give a fuck. whatever the difference is. And then you get the comic relief with those two officers who are with him, which I think is, they're actually, like, kind of funny to me. And then the main cast and them sort of, like, right now, they're just trying to escape, but I presume we'll be introduced to some real destination for them by the mid-act so that we kind of have a direction for, like, what are they doing other than getting to know each other? Because that's all that's really happening right now. What is a group
goal that they're all going to rally around?
Correct. So these are things we don't know, but they're also kind of slow-playing it to let us get to know a lot of these characters and their flaws as well as their... you know, what's cool, and we've had some action or some, like, dramatic scene in every episode. So that's enough to, like, keep my interest. But,
honestly, the action is very efficient. They show what they need to show, and that's good enough for me. They don't show just, like, him popping up and, like, the monsters down behind him. They give us a little, like, you know, a little acrobatic, like, here and there. Yeah. And then he pops it. It's like, cool, thanks. But also, that makes sense because he's a seasoned paladin.
Yeah, and I like the visual of, like, the spear extending into the, like, very Sun Wukong-like, but, like, it's inside the monster and then it extends. And I'm like, that's fucking cool. And I don't just see that all the time. So they give it to you in little bits, but, like, it's going to be fun when he matches up against another paladin. It's going to be fun when they have to do some one-man army shit or whatever, maybe at the end. I don't know what the finale might be. So I'm having a good time. Yeah. But it's not, like, a hype monster. And even, like, the soundtrack is kind of designed to be a little more relaxing, even when there's, like, tension and crazy stuff happening. It's really more like it's wondrous what's going on rather than, oh, shit, someone's about to get their ass kicked. So I like it. I've been enjoying it. And I want to know the story. The story is keeping me engaged in what is going on.
Agreed. Did you watch Tomo-chan?
I did not.
Okay,
what did you think of it?
We'll catch up to that at a later date.
Great.
It's just getting better and better. We'll catch up to that at a later date.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, what you think of Kaina?
Well, Kaina's just, like, it's almost the same as Beasts of Ours, just a different presentation.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think a lot happened as far as, like, moving the story along. I think it was more world building. And, like, being introduced to the differences between, like, what the Canopy people think and then actually the political climate of the Snow Sea. So I like that part. I'm very much so, because, I mean, we're doing world building anyway. Like, let's go all the way. I want to know, why are where the bugs are getting water from somewhere. Where are the bugs getting water from? Because those eggs were, like, fluid. Like, they weren't, like, you know, hard-shelled, like, encased thing. They were, like, aqueous substances. So, that, like, as soon as she fell into the egg and shit like that, I'm thinking they have problems with water. And there's, like, a cave full of, like, human-sized eggs full of liquid. Where the fuck are you getting that? And how, like, and... I don't know. I just feel like the bugs are going to be important. I don't know how. I don't know why. Because they also say that the bugs are the ones that fix the canopy when there are holes in it, too. So, I'm probably just grasping at shit now. But
no.
Those things are... It's not that the show is moving slow. It's just that when I think about like Knights of Sidonia and like how that went, I'm like, things that you would normally not pay attention to definitely fucking matter. So I'm like
100%.
I'm just like, what is that? Nope. What is this? Okay. Like, I know better now. Because I didn't watch Blame. I've never seen Blame before. But like Knights of Sidonia, there was a lot of shit where I was like, oh, I remember, oh, okay. So now I'm like actively paying attention to what is this? What do they know? What do I know? And what am I observing as far as like, the show?
And that's just a hallmark of, you know, this kind of storytelling, which I would say. So Kaina is cool because it has a very, very small cast. And so it's one of the types of series. Trigun kind of falls into this category. I hope Beasts of Ours gets there. But it's that where the, you know, the cliche in writing where they're like, the city is a character.
Oh,
in Kaina and in a lot in the Blame and in Knights of Sidonia, the world that, you know, the stories take place in is also kind of a character. And obviously there are, in episode 2, we kind of see what happens when, you know, Kaina has to contend with the fact that there's more to the world. Like, he's still more or less a child. So,
and acting like a teenager.
Right. So it's not. So the fact that he found another human and it's a girl is exciting to him because he didn't grow up with anybody his age, and also he's a teenage boy, and you know, this person is just super interesting to him for all the reasons a teenage boy would be interested in anything. But because the cast right now is so small, everything feels very intimate, including learning knowledge about the world, because you always learn it in the context of how this tiny community of people relates to it. So all the stuff with the bugs and the rules about, you know, moving around on the canopy and the dangers that are there, and even as something as small as like when Lilia gets her protective gear put together, right, by the old women, but they managed to turn what was essentially a joke about them making her a wedding
dress
into something that actually is kind of touching, because you realize that they don't have very much, and they haven't been able. I forget who said it, but one of the older women said that you know, it was in the context of it being a wedding gown, but what they were really saying was that, like, we have nothing or nobody to pass on, you know, anything as like a woman to. Right, like, because it's just Kaina is their child collectively. It's you know, and this was exciting for them because it's like when someone who only had boy children thinks about what it would have been like to have a daughter. Exactly. Yeah. So like everything about that was endearing, but it was also grounded in what is the reality of living on the canopy like. So that was cool. And yes, there was a ton of world building in this episode, including the sort of, I won't call it a fight, but the struggle against the giant bug, because they tell you the script tells the audience ahead of time that, like, yeah, there's bad shit if you fall in there, and it's not like they're going to be on the canopy long enough for this to play out later, so it kind of had to happen right now, that, like, oh, Lilia's fooling around outside and then she trips and falls, and instead of like just falling to her death immediately manages to slide into the crevice with all the eggs. They get the showdown, so then Kaina gets to do something cool by, like, sort of kind of rescuing her, but he doesn't, like, kill the bug himself. The bug, like, fucks itself up by slamming into the tree in a yeah. But it felt genuinely dangerous. It felt like, here's a reminder that this is a very hostile environment.
The green sperm,
whatever that is,
whatever it is, appears
to them. Yeah,
the green mushroom. There we go. Green mushroom.
There's a lot of awkward mushroom action happening in this season. I don't know what's going on. But that happens. But for me, the heart of the episode was really the sort of the end, or really the middle to the end, when it's very clear that this is about goodbyes, and it's about the elders in the village just letting Kaina go, and on the understanding that he's never going to see them again, or at least as far as they're concerned.
And they didn't even make it that big of a deal. I mean, it was important, and it was definitely sentimental, but it wasn't like a whole oh, someone's crying, he doesn't know what he's gonna do, blah blah blah. It kind of was just like you need to go live your life. You can't just stay here.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, I like that there was at least a little bit of conflict about that, because before they know anything about Lilia's situation, they're kind of dreaming like, oh, maybe Kaina doesn't have to be alone when we're dead. Like, he can have this girl, and they continue things on. And then there's a scene where the sign guy, whatever, the sign reader, he pulls everybody aside. They obviously don't show you what they talked about, but he interrupts them talking like that to be like, hold on now. I don't know about all this. And then when they come back,
die, and then you expect them to continue through incest? Like, no.
I don't know what he said, but when they came back out,
shit down.
Yeah, everybody was on the same page that Kaina's got to leave, and it's time, and he shouldn't have to worry about us, and we're not going to put this on him. And then you have like the sad goodbye, and then they start making their way down. And he has a laser gun, which is very interesting.
I didn't think that. When I saw them doing it at the end of the episode, I was like, that shit's a laser? I was like, oh, okay. But another thing that I noticed was Sign Guy told Kaina, make sure you read aloud.
That was my favorite line in the whole thing, where he's like, don't forget to read. And I'm like, that was, to me, it was personally touching. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. I feel like that's going to be important, because Lilia didn't really respond to like the Sign Guy or reading or anything like that. So I don't particularly know if that is a thing in the Snow Sea. Like,
it doesn't sound like it was. It sounded like she expected that he was a sage. As soon as she was like, I'm not the sage, she's like, all right, bet. And it was like,
she detached.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, gotta get to the sage, because he's gonna save all my niggas. So yeah, so I think the world building aspect is strongest in this series, and it kind of feels like the world is a character, because like even all the information about what happened to get us to where we're at right now is probably going to be delivered through things that are found in the world, rather than some character just like doing exposition, unless they found like a working computer or something, and with like an AI, and it starts talking to them, which I would love if that happened. But if it did not, that's fine. We're going to learn a lot through context clues. So I've got my eyes open, too, to figure out what the fuck is going on. Because we're already doing the Blame / Knights of Sidonia thing, where, like, you have this, like, shrunken society that's, like, lost all of the knowledge, or a lot of the knowledge about the past. And then, especially in Blame, where you'll have this juxtaposition of, like, people who are literally hunting with spears, and then, like, super high-tech technology that's around them that they just don't even...
that was in Blame also.
Okay. Well, what happened in Blame, because... So you have the Earth. The Earth gets mysteriously covered over by this Dyson sphere that keeps building new layers around itself until it even... They said that in the series, it's gonna envelop the sun, like, of the solar system. So, like, people are trapped in the layers that go on, as far as they know, forever, and it's a system that could be controlled by humans, but there are now no longer any living humans that have the genetic code that would allow them to take control of the system to stop it. So it's been an unknown amount of time since that started happening,
and it
just
keeps building and building.
Right, and so now there are these like proto-cultures of humanity that are trapped at different parts of each layer that have basically reverted, either they
tribalism.
Either they're tribal, or like they're incorporating some technology, but they're mutated in some way, so they're not really fully human, or they're cyborg, and they're all in hiding from the system, which controls these like robotic killing machines, that if anybody tries to fuck with the barriers between the different layers, they get instantly targeted and annihilated by kill robots. And the story of Blame is there's a character named Killy, who we are not really sure, but he has the privileges of one of the administrators of killer robots. Yeah. And he finds a girl who it appears like she has the correct DNA to actually interface with the system, and so they kind of are on a journey penetrating through all these different layers to get to this place called, I don't remember the name, it's like 0 Point or whatever, where they could theoretically turn off the killer robots.
Okay.
But it's like bleak as fuck. Like it's not a happy series. Like there's so much fuck shit happens in there. Like it's gross. It's like all the enemies are these like half human cyborgs. There's also like fully robotic rogue groups that are. It's crazy. It's crazy. I read the manga, and the manga is like one of the bleakest things I have ever read in my life. But the point I was making is in that series, these proto cultures of humans. Like there's like the fishers, right? So like that group of people, they live in an area where there's like water, but they also like hunt in the gaps between the wall. And when you see them, they are, they're wearing like leather scraps and they don't have guns. They've got spears, but then the environment around them is this like high fantasy, high sci-fi, like ziggurats and dark tunnels and like, glowing things and everything else, but they're just super proto-humans. So it's that juxtaposition is this, I feel it in Kaina when you've got like patched together like snowsuits that seem to be made out of like leather and old shit, and then he's just randomly gifted a laser gun, but nobody knows that it's a laser gun. It's just this like,
and also that they hid the fact that it existed from him the entire time.
Right. Like it just felt so much like blame. Even the idea of the canopy being around the Earth is like the Dyson sphere around the Earth. Like it's kind of remixing a lot of the same ideas. So I think that's just cool. All right. So I watched Revengers episode 3. Mm-hmm. I really like this series. I think that each episode is giving us more of all the characters, and one thing I like the most about Revengers is that the main cast or the main supporting cast they already have a history with each other. They're already part of a group, so they like each other sort of, but kind of everyone is on edge with each other in some way or another. So people, I don't know how to quantify it, but like sometimes groups of characters don't actually have any chemistry because they are like a collection of ideas. They're not actually like well developed in any way.
Oh, okay.
But in Revengers, everybody not only do they have a role, but they also have like a life outside of that role, and then they have their own independent relationships with each other. And it's fun to not only go through the episodes and like get the cool kill or the assassination mission and like that stuff, which can be hype as of episode 2, but also look at the tension that all of them have with each other and their relationships. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's like aggressive or emotional or whatever. And the world that they're slowly building up around all of them is like, I like it. I think it's just colorful and but also deadly. Yeah, and chaotic, yeah. So I don't know. Did you watch episode 3 or are you?
No, I'm still on episode 1 for them.
Okay, so we'll come back around to that one. What else have you been watching?
On my channel. So I caught up on fucking Eminence and Shadow. Oh man!
How far back? Wait, which episodes were you? Where'd you start?
The last episode that I had seen before I had caught up, I was 6 episodes behind.
Oh shit! So you got the whole underground.
Oh man, the sanctuary. I just gotta say, I love this show. I love this show. Like I didn't know what I was missing out on by being behind. First of all, one of the first things that I see when I come back into the fucking show is the
boobs fall off.
No, not the boobs fall. That was one. That was one thing. The hot bath scene.
Oh, the hot bath. Yes. The towel slap.
The towel slap.
The towel slap.
So confused. And the fact that it comes back later on after she talks to her sister, she's like, I'm going to go take a shower. And then you hear it in the background. She does it several times. And I'm like, this show is just... Yo. It's just... It does not give a fuck. It doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't. I love it. I love it. It's a weeb fantasy come to life. Chuny fantasy come to life. I don't even care about the power gap with him and everyone because he himself and the supporting cast are so entertaining. They're so fucking entertaining. But also the fact that all of that sanctuary shit, I honestly was like getting anxiety because I was like, wait, you're like, they dumped a shit ton of info. Like within those like 2 to 3 episodes when they got in there, I was just like, bruh, like, what the fuck is all this? Like, wait, Olivier, you're the descendant. What is possessed? Blah, 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 blah. But then also, shit started making sense as it went further in, all kind of shit like that. But leave it to Sid to follow up with what he did during the school attack. The moment that they were like, oh, it's absorbing our magic, I was like, this is gonna find a way. He's 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 gonna do it. To the point where he was just like, yeah, I can tank hits. They just don't have to hit vital shit. Like, that's okay. And he was like, all I have to do is conserve my magic and solidify it to a point where it can't be absorbed anymore because it's too dense.
Like, it doesn't even have to make sense. You just, because you knew the whole time that he was doing something. Because he started out, he had one eye closed basically the entire time that he was down there. Which, and
that right eye was just like, huh?
Right.
I'm
and
like,
he was,
why's your eye closed, nigga?
And they were doing a lot to like bait you, the audience, into knowing that something was going to happen. But it really wasn't clear what was going to happen. So listen, kids, that's called writing anticipation. Okay, it's one of the most basic things that you can do to drive interest when you don't really want to do a lot on screen. For some reason, writers have a lot of problems doing this. That's why when someone complains,
I can't comment because I'm not a writer, so I know
about like, oh, that was an ass pull. That was an ass pull. The reason you feel that way,
context clues,
is when something like abrupt happens in a story and there's no real explanation for it. Is that you feel that it's unearned because it literally isn't earned. But if you are told something's gonna happen, something's gonna happen, something's gonna happen, something's gonna happen, eventually, even if the thing that happens is absurd or is an ass pull, you'll forgive it because you got built up into wanting it. At some point, you didn't even care what the thing was.
That's a great way to put it. I wanted it. I was waiting on it.
Yes.
And that was basic. Also, the fact that it was like magic, like circuits, like fucking fate. I'm just like, bitch, was that a magic circuit in his arm? Like, what the fuck is that? And of course, and then he does the whole thing. And I'm just thinking, why I feel like this is like a Chuny moment. Like I feel like it's a weeb moment. Yes. Like he did that shit from regular Earth. Like I know
remember what Sid said when he came in? He was like, okay, what setting are we in? He was like, oh, it's this kind of a story. What would be the coolest thing to be able to do? You know, it's to he figured it out. Emiya Shiro. That's what that nigga chose. He chose that shit. I will say though, I love the action scenes so much because they do everything so fast and so intense where I don't need a drawn out scene. I'm just like, oh shit, done. And it's like, okay, that happened. My God, when fucking, what is it, Delta? When Delta was fucking fighting. Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, I don't even need a backstory. I don't care anymore. Like, the fact that they showed her fighting in one scene, and the next scene, like, she's damn near stripped bare. She took that, like, one little sliver and, like, put it around her, like, fucking nipples and shit like that. And I'm just like, okay, fan start, like, duh, a piece of modesty clothing is what was included there. That's
and I was like, you know what? I get it. But also, they gave us fan service with Sid. They gave the gays and the girls something with Sid. Because I was like, the body's ripped. So, like, someone got something from that.
The conversation about the Excalibur. He's talking about his own dick.
He was like, oh yeah, I haven't even unsheathed my whole sword. Like, okay. Got her hot and bothered in the hot tub.
The slap.
In the like, okay. Okay.
I was like, what is this man doing? What did I just watch?
That's the thing, though. I have those same questions, but at the same time, I'm just like, oh, he's just so unabashed and like, just like he stands in his shit. Like 10 toes down, he stands in his shit.
Yeah, that is the understatement of a lifetime.
Like
he won 100 toes down. This thing is not doing nothing he don't want to do.
Nothing else but being like, I'm doing this shit. I'm going all in on what the fuck I want to do. So that to Delta, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, she's just gonna keep fighting until they show that huge ass fucking Claymore, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like I'm just like, this is just cool. Like what the fuck else am I supposed to say right now?
He had the bad bitch army, ready and waiting.
That we've only seen glimpses of. Like we've only seen Alpha really do anything.
I think we talked about this sort of the beginning of the season, but the concept of, so you've got this like big supporting cast of fan service bait, and there's like different ways you can go about, putting that kind of a concept into a show. A lot of times what happens is each character is supposed to be one-dimensional, right? Because they're embodying some trope or they're embodying, some cliche that fans like.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the ditzy girl. Oh, this is the battle raging monster. This is the self-conscious one. This is the intellectual. This is the whatever. And then you sprinkle in other stuff, the tsundere, yandere, all that other stuff in there. And that is about as far as most series will go with the idea. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I think you pointed out before, and then I've also noticed it, and we've talked about it, is this idea of giving just enough at any given time that you want more from these supporting characters, independent of whatever the rest of the story is, because they're either very funny, right? There's like recurring gags that you wanted to see play out. Mm-hmm. They are presented as powerful enough to create moments that make you go like, oh shit, that's cool. But nobody ever really overstays their welcome because they're able to cycle through that supporting cast enough, and even give them things to do that exist outside of their interactions with the main character, that it always feels fresh when, say, Epsilon pops back up into the story, or Gamma comes into the story, or Zeta comes into the story, or the princesses come into the story. Because they're never really there long enough for you to get sick of them, or to really think about how shallow the character might actually be once you strip away a lot of those tropes and gags and other things. Like, do I believe that the Delta character has some deep and rich inner life that we need to explore? No. And that because we're not getting that, she's no. She is a pile of cliches, but you only get her in a small enough doses where it's like, I'm not going to see anything from this character for another like 5 or 6 episodes. But when they show up again, I'm reminded, I really liked the last time they were on screen doing anything, or having a moment, or being the butt of a joke, or carrying the story forward, whatever they were doing. Like, Beta is a perfect example because her whole, conceptually, who she is to the plot is just like kind of a narrator. Like, she knows kind of everything that's going around. She's got one gag, which is her plagiarizing all of Sid's anime weeb stories and just being, infatuated with them like all the other girls are. But what they do is that they'll pair her off with other characters that she can play against. And then when you're sick of her, like her feuding with what's the girl's name?
Princess,
Alexia.
Yeah.
When she's done like taunting or like picking on Alexia for being more hot or whatever it is, their thing, whatever they got going on, then she's off screen, and you don't need to see or hear from her until the next time it's relevant to both the story and her,
how they're gonna use her as a pawn, Alexia as a pawn, and things like that.
Right, exactly. And you maybe get like 30 seconds, and then we're on to something else. Nobody overstays their welcome. And that's usually a big problem with series that are so wrapped up in being pure
and doing too much.
Because you'll be like, okay, I don't hate this character, but like they're not adding anything, and we're wasting a lot of time with them. Here, they're just like, Oh, you think this is funny? Really funny? Okay, we're done. Next one. Oh, you think this is good? You think this is cool? All right, we're done. And they do that a lot to kind of keep the story moving, keep the energy moving. They don't sit in jokes for a really long time. So it's just it's good pacing. And these characters are just fun to be around in short bursts. Because like Alpha, if this whole series is about Sid and Alpha and their relationship, it's like that would get old pretty quick. And then you'd be wanting to see somebody else.
Yeah. But so I thought the whole thing with the Sanctuary, and then I'm also up to where they're at with the tournament right now.
So I was going to ask you about the tournament. Because this might be one of the funniest things that they have ever done.
Oh, with Homegirl cracking her neck?
There is so much to be pulled out of this that I don't even know where to start. It's like the tournament itself is a parody of tournament arcs. Yeah. Every part of it is a parody. The fact that he named
blah blah blah.
Yeah, didn't he name himself like something Average Man or whatever?
Yeah, and then also the antagonist is named Perv Asshat.
Perv Asshat is my absolute. I had to reread the translation again because I was like,
I thought I got troll subs. I was like, there's no way the name is Perv Asshat.
It is 100%.
And then the next episode, she was like, I'm going to go meet my fiance, Perv Asshat. And I'm
Perv Asshat. And I was just, I was trying to figure out if I had something had gone wrong. I got the wrong translations.
Yeah.
What was the knight's name? Because it's also like a play on words in English
Quentin?
too.
Or Goldie.
The Goldie one was one, but the girl, the one who's snapping her neck.
Oh, like the seventh. She's like the seventh blade something, but she's also Arianus.
Yeah, but oh man, I gotta know. But all the names are puns. The entire setup of the tournament itself and the way Sid and every other character interacts with it is of itself a parody of how tournament arcs tend to go. Going down to Sid choosing. He looked at it. He was like, "Oh, it's this scenario. What would be the most satisfying? To be the weak guy that everybody doesn't take seriously, but then slowly convinces certain people in the audience that actually he's super strong. That everything about it is it's just a giant joke to him." But it's the same thing of how the demon cult turned out to be real, even though he kind of imagined it. He was trolling in the world to create the scenarios that he loved from his favorite, you know what I'm saying? His favorite shows.
He's making up the villains and they actually existed.
Right, and the same deal is that he managed to find all the people he needed for the one story
the girls were experiments.
Yes. To recreate the, whatever the hero.
So all of them were actually cursed, or they weren't cursed, but they all had Diablo cells.
Yes.
And they were failures.
Yes.
So then what is Alpha? Because Alpha says that she's a descendant of Olivier. So
they're all descendants of Olivier by virtue of the fact that they're using her cells.
Oh, they're using Olivier's cells in those girls.
Yes, and they're experimenting on...
So why does Alpha look like Olivier?
Well, that's the question, because not only does she look like her, but then now we've met a third character that claims to... Or looks exactly like Alpha, right?
Oh, yeah. So what I had thought, or what... I don't know, what I was thinking was that Olivier had descendants or some shit like that. But then I was like, but wait, how is Alpha?
They're all. So what I'm getting.
So Alpha was kidnapped and experimented on.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So for some of them, it could be the case that they, we gotta learn more, which is what's cool. There's actually a fun little backstory that you can kind of untangle. But the two possibilities are that there's a bloodline that both birthed Olivier, but also had people kidnapped through, and then were experimented on because they were resistant to the Diablo cells, so they could be super powered doing that. But the process that they were using was really shit, and so the end result is that a lot of those experiments were failures, where the Diablo cells overwhelmed the host, and they couldn't get whatever they wanted. I guess this perfect clone of the original hero who could kill Diablo. So at least that was what we thought going into the first part of that underground thing. Now they spooled out a little bit more because the witch was actually Diablo's.
Yeah.
So it's not really clear how much of those memories are can be trusted. But what we do know is that all the girls involved both have some genetic connection to the original hero and also were treated with Diablo cells at some point.
Yeah.
And that's what we know.
And also going back to, I forgot what her name is, but her titties falling off while they're in the library. And then being like, no one saw that.
That's Epsilon. Epsilon.
Man. The fact that when they first came off, they dripped, and then she sucked that shit back in.
I was like, what am I seeing? What is happening? Then the other time when they got cut off.
Yes!
And then they came back on. She's like, who saw anything? Anybody see anything?
It's just outlandish. Like, outlandish, unashamedly outlandish. And that's honestly what I love about it. I love the Olivia fight, where he took out one and homeboy was like, I have 1,100 more.
Yeah, why not? There's 100 of these bitches. They're all over here.
Yeah. It's like, okay, cute. I liked the fight in the tournament where he fought Violet initially, and like he literally like sliced her beam and fucked up, and I was like, oh, this is just cool. It's just cool. It looks like it's so much fucking fun. He was having fun. She was having fun. She's locked up, blah, blah. And I like how they did that reveal where he saw the arm and then in his pupils, it showed the arm coming closer and then it flashed Violet. And then a little bit later, like as he's saying his goodbye, it's revealed that Violet is Diablo. Right. So somewhere in this, I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, is Diablo actually like a demon, or is Violet? Do other isekai people exist in this world, or is this a world only for Sid? Like, it had me thinking about that because I'm like, wait, now we got actual story going on. Like, what he not just like fuck. I mean, he's still fucking around, but like the story that the girls are dealing with is actually taking more like. Of a not a center stage, but like it's coming into the light more. As opposed to being like, oh, Shadow Garden's doing this, or they're doing that. I also like the little economic thing where I guess they're gonna start making cars or some shit, and because like homegirl whispered in the ear, and they were like, yeah, this is approved, and da da da. And she was like, we'll buy all this shit. We're gonna make your city like the central hub of your country and shit like that.
Yeah, like, there's something happening over there.
Something's happening over there, but. Tournament wise, what is this? It's mundane. Something mundane.
Yeah, mundane man.
Mundane man. Yes. So,
Jesus Christ.
First of all, that, and also the fact that like he just has the mask just like sitting on his fucking bed rest. Like a decapitated head.
Yes.
As he got out of bed. It's just little things like that. Also, as you said earlier, with like, they're giving it to you, so you're expecting it. I can't wait for him to fuck these niggas up.
Yes.
Like, every time he does it, I'm just like, yes, like, please. Which I kind of was disappointed with the Quentin fight, because that was the one that initially beat his ass.
Well, because they wrote it off. It was just like, it happened kind of off camera, and then he thinks back about it when he's talking to Anne Rose. He's like, oh yeah, there was some guy whose name I forgot that got owned.
Okay, so he forgot him.
Yeah, he forgot. Okay. He didn't even give a fuck.
But also,
he's only in it for this, the Anne Rose thing where it's like,
you're underestimated me.
Yeah, that's all he's there for. It's not even really about anything else to him.
It isn't. Which I love it. I fucking I love how she's so obsessed with him now that she thinks all the like random shit that he does is helping him power up. She said,
you're not the only one. And then I was like, hold on.
Like,
and then she does it, he's like, oh, okay. Whatever. Whatever you say.
It's like, it's almost like she has Tourette's at one moment. I'm just like, girl, what are you doing? Why are you, like,
remember when she did it by herself and everybody just looked at her like, yo, what is wrong?
Oh, yeah, the people, they showed the people in the stands.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Oh, man.
They were like, nah, bro.
It's so much fun. So much fun. Doing? I know this is going to end crazily, and I feel like they can do one more little arc or whatever. I mean, it's 20 episodes, so what?
Yeah, I don't know where this is.
Actually, maybe not. Maybe
they're gonna whatever's going on with Rose, who's on the run from her. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about her. And so Perf Asshat is definitely controlling the king.
Asshat. Yeah, because he's drooling and shit.
Yeah, he's just drooling. And then the princess, oh my god, he's gonna fuck the princess up. I forgot, because he's gonna meet her in the finals.
Right.
Oh, this is gonna be so good.
So there's like, you know what I'm saying? There's like things to look forward to, but the fact that like the primary member of the cast that we follow is a fucking goofball, but is gonna do cool shit. And then all the other secondary stuff, they're having everybody else is having a very real experience, okay? Everybody is.
Down to the gambling.
Yes. Oh my god, yeah, that gimmick is great. Can you lend me
some money?
He's like, he's always God. He just disappeared. Like, oh.
Or homeboy farming potatoes, being like, I'm not giving you anybody, man.
Oh, that was true, right? They did see, yeah, he was off farming fucking potatoes. Yeah, so it's just a lot of fun. That's all I can really say. I have a good time with the show.
Yeah, it's not super like deep and being like, this is the commentary on this and that. It's just like, this is fun. And I think that's what it made reason why I love it so much. It's just fucking fun. I watched all 6 episodes. At first, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch 2 episodes at a time. Blah, blah, blah. No. All 6 back to back. I was like, this is so ridiculously fun. Like, wow. You really just did that shit. You really,
I want to say,
Holy Sword, Excalibur, the Holy Sword is not unsheathed, slapping the fucking towel in the taint, like just.
So I think it was the end of episode 13 into episode 14, where like he's taking the beating from the clone, and it's like that he's gonna bust something. Sid's gonna bust some shit out.
Yeah.
And they do the thing where he gets stabbed. And they change the animation style, so it's just red and black on the screen. Oh yeah. And then you get the zoom into his mouth, and then he goes from like a regular face to like the grin, and then he's like, gotcha.
And then the flame in the eye.
The flame in the eye, and you just know that some hot shit's about to happen, and then they cut the fucking episode, and it's like, episode over. See, you got to watch it right through.
Yeah, I couldn't.
The rest of us were like, oh shit, this thing about to go in. Like that's an experience that is hard to pull off, even when you're taking everything seriously. You're pushing like a very like a high quality show. A Mob Psycho, even a One Piece. Like that's a hard emotion to create inside the audience. That extreme, the payoff of your anticipation, and then hits you with a cliffhanger, and then you're like, okay, I want to see more. I need to know what happens next. That's really not easy. Yeah. So for all the jokes that I make about this show, and acknowledge the fact that it's not like a AAA production, because the Vinland Saga is a AAA production this season, no question about that. Trigun is a AAA production this season, no question about that. This is not a AAA production, but they do things, including that change, even just changing the animation, the red and the black contrast. They never did that anywhere else. That's an artistic choice to drive home the drama of this thing, and then they hit you with the cliffhanger. That's well paced. So now, if I'm in your position, you're like, I'm not gonna watch anymore. I got 2 episodes. Oh shit, I gotta watch episode 14. You're already back in. If you have to wait a week, you're waiting all week to be like, I want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I gotta give them all the props for turning this very silly concept all around into something that's just entertaining, beat to beat to beat to beat to beat. So it's awesome, and we got 4 more episodes. So hold on.
It really is fucking awesome. So what else? Did you watch anything else? Or I think that's kind of like it for me.
What am I forgetting? Vinland Saga, great. I mentioned it before. Episode 3 is one of the harder parts of this new story to get through because it involves Thorfinn essentially having to reckon with his complete nihilism. Like, he has given up on everything in life at this point. Doesn't even see the point of being alive at all. And then this nigga's just cutting him. Literally just slicing at him for like 5 minutes in this episode, and he's just doing nothing. He's just like, just kill me. Go ahead and kill me. The guy cuts off part of his ear. It's fucking gross. You're like, oh, you can just like, they're gonna be maiming and wounding my main character, and he's just not fighting back, and all you want is for him to just snap and kill everybody. But it's just not that story anymore. That story is off somewhere else. I told you, like, Farmland Saga, which is what this is like. It is fantastic. But I know that a lot of people who are coming off of season 1, when they get to this part, I don't know the right way to say this, but like, if you were on board with Vinland Saga because it was this hyper violent period piece with like kings and the lore and history and myth and this crazy main character who could just absolutely ruin people, and that was what was getting you from episode to episode, was like the brutality of seeing all that. Season 2 is by design supposed to recenter you, to make you think about all the things that you watched in season 1 and what kind of effect that would actually have on somebody. Because this is not like a full-on fantasy where like, oh, you know, you just watch, you know, a bunch of people die, everything that you believed in. Right. No, this is like a human being experienced that. And they do a big old time skip, so Thorfinn's like a young adult at this point, and you can just tell he's been utterly ruined by the experiences that he went through in the first season. At the end of this episode, he has a statement where he's, as he's being cut up, because the setup is that he's working as a slave on this farm, and the son of the guy who owns him is very childish and doesn't like feel respected by other men, and so he's tricked into the guards who are playing with him basically tell him that to become a man, to be taken seriously, you have to kill somebody, and that he's like, how can I do that? I'm not at war. I can't leave the farm. And they're like, oh, well, your father owned slaves, so you own the slaves, so you can do whatever you want to the slaves. And they kind of goad him into picking up Thorfinn and another character, Einar, who they don't like, and just say, you can do whatever, you can kill them. And so Thorfinn basically volunteers to be killed, because he's just like, if you're going to beat on this other guy, you might as well kill me. I fear nothing. I don't care about anything anymore. There's no reason for me to live. And so to make an example out of him, one of the warriors is looking at him like, I've seen battle. I know what it's like to be a man. You must feel fear. I know that you feel fear. And Thorfinn's like, I feel nothing. So this nigga is just like cutting him. And Thorfinn's just like, he's just like, not even moving, no expression, no noise. He's getting arm, leg, chest, face. The guy cuts his ear off. Like, he's like not reacting, and the dude's getting more and more pissed off. And then he hits him with the like, is the reason that we're alive is just the fear of death? Is that all it is? Because I've been alive for, you know, my whole life, and nothing good has ever happened to me. There's no reason, you know, life has I have no reason. I just exist because I'm not going to kill myself. And that part of this part of the story is a complete denunciation of everything that happens in the first season, and also that the audience would have been excited for in the first season.
For him to snap and be like, right, I'm getting your ass together.
No, in fact, that's not what happens. He eventually, the situation is broken up by the head warrior who shows up. But it's like, up until that point, you have no reason to believe that's going to happen. So you don't know what is going to happen to your main character. And the fact that he has changed so much, it's getting him back to being a human being is really the purpose of this whole arc. And there is like fighting and violence and combat, but it's not meant to be cathartic to you, the audience member who is like super into the violent part. It was really like making you think about, okay, what actually happened to this child in that, when he was, you know, 13 years old. What did he see? What did he experience? What actually would be the impact of those things? So I know people are going to be annoyed about, well, Thorfinn born now. He ain't killing nobody. He ain't do whatever. But like, this ain't for you. This is for adults. Okay. This is a story for adults, written by adults. So if you're not about that, just, you know, whatever. But it's a high quality. Everything looks great. Visuals fantastic. Music is great. So I'm into that. And I think I talked about Revengers is cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I've been watching this week. I need my next project, just like we talked about last year with Mushoku Tensei, is going to be Bungo Stray Dogs. I am going to sit my ass down.
Have you started
I never get past like episode 4 or 5 in season 1.
What?
Because I think that when I see clips of it, I want it to be a different show than it is. Like, it's more of like a, you know, a little bit of detective stuff.
Yeah.
But there's this underlying plot. And like, episode 3 is where it kind of hits you that like, it's episodic. It feels episodic. It's not serial. A little bit. And so I was like, that wasn't what I want.
The component comes into it the deeper you get into.
That's what I hear. So I gotta like get through like maybe the first 6 episodes. I'm sure it'll be totally fine.
Well, yeah, and I also, you know what, that makes sense now that you say that, because I think we're literally like inserted with the main character. So like he doesn't know about everyone. Like there's a shit ton of history amongst everything that he's introduced to, but he does not know it. So as he learns about the histories of like how the other like supporting main is connected to everyone, and like the mafia and the detective agency and the shit like that, it's like, okay, so now I see like this is especially with like the second season and the movie. I mean, I really enjoy what they've been doing with it's not like antagonists to allies, but it's like they're doing like something where I'm just like, okay, like, yeah, they fight together, but like they still don't fuck with each other. It's like Escride almost, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like it has kind of that feeling a little bit.
The irony, the reason why I'm like more interested in it is because after watching High Card, which we didn't really talk too much about, but like I realized that High Card and Bungo Stray Dogs are very much the same thing. Like, there's a, you know, really interesting world that's out there, superpowers, you know, there's some depth to it. It's fun. The music is great. Character designs really stand out. It's got kind of a swag, but ultimately the core of the story is kind of built around these episodic like episodes with a underlying plot that ties things together, and usually once per episode a really cool thing will happen. So like in season 3, episode 3, you know, a lot of it was like this side story about you know, the Finn, is that his name? I
don't remember any of their names, to be honest.
Yeah, I think yeah, Finn. Getting his new suit and then immediately like trying to intervene in a kidnapping, which then introduces Chris, who ultimately turns out to be another member of High Card, but Finn doesn't know that until the end. And the you know, the guy gets lectured on like recklessly using his powers, putting people in danger. It's like an ideological clash. He gets arrested with the kidnappers. Yada yada yada. They wind up at a warehouse to do an exchange money for, you know, this guy who's been kidnapped. Turns out he's actually a member of High Card. The reason why he was telling Finn to just fucking chill was because all he had to do to deal with this problem was get kidnapped. Somebody from High Card would show up with a bunch of money, and his ability is to convert money into any object of the same value as the money he consumes. Which is a pretty neat power, and he uses it, but like the way they set it up is one of the guys shows up with like the box of cash or the briefcase. He kicks it open, knocks it into the air, and then converts some of it into a bazooka, and then just blows away the people who were trying to fuck him. So that payoff was actually really cool for some of the meandering that happened in the earlier part of the episode. And then you find out that even though he's like 17 years old, he's the manager of this branch. And so he's the superior of both Finn and, was it Leo? The guy that the calorie dude. So he's actually their superior. And you can already see the dynamic of like having someone who's like super young but is very by the book, very like, you know, domineering, lecturing these older people and like putting them in line, like that's like a cute dynamic. They love to do that. It's like the Hitsugaya template from Bleach, where you got like they're super young but they're in charge. So like again, chemistry's there, cast is there. It's a little episodic, kind of monster of the week, mystery / problem solving. There's an underlying story. So I'm like, if I'm enjoying High Card, and my problem with Bungo Stray Dogs is that it's basically just the same formula, I should just knuckle under and really give it an honest look this time. So that's why I'm gonna get back around to it soon.
No. Is there any news that caught your eye?
There's some anime delays.
Yeah.
They don't all seem to be from the same reason. Nier is delayed for COVID, but then there are a couple other series, Kubo and some others that are that have their own problem. No, I'm sorry. Kubo is delayed for COVID. Nier, I don't know why there is a delay.
Yeah. I'm not watching Nier anyways right now because I was just like, maybe I want to play the game one day. So I didn't want to get spoiled on everything. But
from what I gather from watching the first episode, I think you'd be fine with just watching the anime. Because Nier has like 7 endings.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that what they're covering in the anime really gets to the heart of all the complexities that's in the game. So unlike some other projects that are adapting games, that you're not, it's sort of like, you know, if you like Devil May Cry and they made a anime version of Devil May Cry 1, all you're going to do is compare the sequences that were in the game to what's in the anime. That's it. Mm-hmm. Whereas in something like Nier, where there's these twisting, interlocking storylines from multiple perspectives, it might actually be a good thing if you never played the game to watch the anime, because that gives you like a baseline to understand what the fuck is going on. And then when you go and play the game rather, and you're doing these different perspectives, in some way maybe the anime kind of centers you on the core story and then lets you appreciate, you know, the different branches that you can take a little bit more. Because that's how I felt about, I don't know how you felt about it, but fuck, what is the name of that series? Steins Gate.
Oh, right? My God. I have a troubled, I just can't do, I have watched Steins Gate, but by saying watch Steins Gate, it means, oh my God, no, I literally remember this. The video game Child of Light had come out, and one of my friends was visiting New York, and he was like, I'll play this new game that you said was so cool, but you have to watch Steins Gate while I play the game because it's really fun. So I sat there and I literally was just like, I just don't. And I got to the end and I was just like, I just still am not. I'm not. And maybe I need to rewatch it. Maybe I wasn't like fully paying attention or was like fully invested. But I got to the end of it and I was just like, okay, now what? Like, what? Okay, so like time travel and this and that's the daughter and this, and I'm just like, okay. And then I know there's like Steins Gate Zero and all the other kind of stuff, things like that. So, but yeah, similar to you and Bungo, I'm just like, every time I've tried to watch it by myself, I barely get past the first episode, like barely. Like by the end of the first episode, I'm usually just like, what the? No, not in the mood, not doing it, not right now. I feel you.
Yeah, the point I was basically making is like visual novels that then get translated into anime, kind of like hit or miss for me, but when they're done decently, the anime can kind of be your baseline understanding of what the story is. Okay. And then that, because sometimes that's kind of hard to get out of a visual novel in one go. And I think that's by design. They do it to, you know, give you more reason to play through again and again and again. Is to get the whole story. Whereas like the anime usually has to be able to condense or clearly explain at least a few of the major plot points that would be confusing or left kind of unexplained in a single playthrough of a visual novel. So I find that sometimes it's helpful to do that first, and same for like some games. I would apply that logic to like the Muv-Luv kind of anime adaptations that have been out there. I would probably never play any of those visual novels, but I feel like at least from the adaptation from last year, that like I appreciated just being able to go through one of the campaign storylines and be like, oh, okay, this is the core of what's going on. This is the technology. This is, oh, he can go back in time and do certain things. This is how like the causality loop works. This is what the bad guys are. This is what they're trying to do. Like, okay, all that's clear. So if I then either went and watched any of the other series, even like Fate, right? I think you would agree that like you've seen at least like Fate Zero, right?
Yeah, I've seen Fate Zero, Stay Night,
sure.
The Blade Works, yeah.
Right, like those are also a similar sort of situation where obviously they're leaving things out of these different routes, but they give you a good baseline for understanding what the fuck is going on, and they're also exciting to watch. So that's the key, is that they also have to be exciting to watch, and sometimes that isn't true. But I don't know. I feel like I can get around to, I can convince anybody to get around to watching Nier because it looks so good. It's fun to watch. But if you want to play the game first, or anybody wants to play the game first, have at it. It's just, that's a big time investment. So
yeah,
it's like that, or you could watch like 2 hours of anime and be done with it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So for me, news, they're going ahead. I mean, this is not surprising. But Seven Deadly Sins, Knights of Apocalypse, anime's greenlit.
It'd be 3 episodes long. Like what? What is?
No, it's been what, 2 years?
Time flies. Never mind.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. They got material. Wait, let me see. The debut adaptation of this, 2020, January 2021, January 27, 2021. So
okay, I take that back.
In a few days.
Yeah.
They'll have 2 years worth of content. So I'm assuming there's something to work off of. It's not A1 Pictures, it's Telecom Animation, I think, doing it. Let me see what they've done though.
Yeah, I'm fine with it not being A1 because
I think a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Oh, so they do Nagatoro-san. Oh, they do
that sounds okay.
Oh, they've done some of the Sengoku Basara stuff. Okay.
I actually saw some stuff from Sakugaboro that was from that series. I never really watched more than one episode.
Oh, they did Cyber. Yeah, no, I never watched a single episode. I like the openings, but I like the openings because they got TM Revolution. I like Grand Rodeo.
Yeah,
to like sing a lot of that shit. So I'm just like, oh wait, they did the Tower of God.
Telecom to Tower of God?
Yeah.
Why did I not remember
that? They did Tower of God.
Oh, well, there you go.
Telecom animation film. Oh.
I think.
Okay.
Listen, I'm still a fan of, Seven Deadly Sins as a IP now. Yeah. I just haven't read the new manga, so I can't.
I want to watch the Edinburgh movie, but I kind of want to watch it when both of them are out.
Yeah. I don't think I've not seen that.
Yeah, it came out. It came out in December, and I have not heard a peep about it from like anyone. I don't know. I haven't heard. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not as bad as people were like screaming bloody murder about it for. But yeah, I mean that's good. That's good. They announced the new Pretty Cure that's coming out. So that's happening. It's the 20th anniversary. Holy shit. The 20 years of this shit.
They've been pretty curing for a long time.
They have. It's a fucking conglomerate. Well, I don't actually know how much money Toei makes from it. But if it's been going for 20 years, it must be putting a decent dent into something. Or it must be bringing in a decent amount of money. But yeah, that's about all I have for news.
Yeah, not too much that I saw that was particularly riveting.
Yeah, same.
I did wound up watching. This is not from this week, but like a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the latest trailer was for Hell's Paradise. And,
oh yeah, I saw there was a second one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't be more excited. Like,
really?
It's such a. It's like for me personally, there's a. I'm just gonna call it like there's like a traditional hype cycle that I get engaged with, and usually when I know that series that kind of flew under the radar, it's getting a great production, and then every little bit more that I see of it is teasing the right stuff for a broader audience. I want to know what the reaction really is going to be to the series. Like, I'm as excited to see that as I am the series itself. So
yeah,
well, no news, but check it out if you haven't.
Well,
seen
then another thing. Now that you said that, because that made me think of this one. Not the Grand Blue Fantasy anime, because that's just mid.
Ah, yes.
But
yes.
Grand Blue Fantasy Ray Link, bitch, looks amazing. Looks so good. So good. And they have Katana Girl from well, I mean it's a gacha game originally, but like one of the most popular characters, the pink-haired Katana Girl with the big boobs. She's in it. And I watched like a gameplay trailer and I'm just like, yeah, I could sink some time into this shit. This looks just like weeb action RPG fun. And the way that I'm assuming they're going to run it is they're just going to probably just add characters because, you know, they have hundreds of them now. So they'll add characters as they go. It'll be amazing. So that is something. And they said 2023 release date. So we're getting it this year.
In addition to that, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus sequel also got announced. Mm-hmm. Which is Versus Rising.
I bought the collector's edition of that. Or not the collector's.
Oh, you did?
Like I bought the edition that came with like, you know, the art book and things like that. Because I like Grand Blue Fantasy as an IP. Mm-hmm. It just does not get much like global exposure outside of Japan. Like they don't have like an app. Like you still have to play the game in browser if you're global. And it's just not really pushed here like other anime or just like anime adjacent IPs. So whenever there was something that came out for it, I always was eager to get my hands on it because I'm one of them niggas that found out about it, was like, this looks so fucking cool. And I was like, oh, there's literally like nothing. Like I'd have to invest like hundreds of hours to like play this game, or I'm going to go to the wiki and read nonstop about all the story and things like that. So now that I know like decent chunks of the story, it's all fragmented. So I'm always eager whenever they release a game or something from the IP to basically be like, I need something to pull this shit together. I need to know how the Knights of the Four are related to Gran and like the ship and things like that. Or like, you know, what country are they from? And like just all of that stuff. I want to know how they're connected and see it play out, as opposed to just like knowing, oh, these are allies and, you know, this is his power, he's a dual wielder and ice and da-da-da. It's like, yes, I know it, but like, what's the origin of the power? Where's the country? Where's it come from? Blah blah blah, etc etc. Like, that's why I'm so much excited for Ray Link, and that's why I bought Versus when it came out, tried to play it, but I think it was really niche because I like practiced on it for a bit, and I was I liked the girl, was it the Ivy girl? No, not the Ivy girl. The main girl that uses the rapier, whatever the fuck her name is. She has like ice projectiles. She plays very similar to Jin from Blaze Blue. She plays very similar to him. That's why I was like, oh, I like you, girl. Because Blaze Blue was like my first fighting game where I was like, oh, I like this nigga. Like, this nigga looks so cool. I want to get good with him. Like, I want to fight niggas. But that was before online was like, you know, as big as it is now. But I was practicing with her and I just kept going online. I kept getting my ass beat over and over and over again. And then eventually getting your ass beat while you like practice fighting games is a regular thing. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm a prodigy. It's
the rite of passage, but the experience has to be mediated a little bit. Yeah, but the thing was, the lobbies plummeted like after a certain date.
And that's true. People just stopped playing. And like, I follow the subreddit for Versus, and eventually it just became a ghost town. Like, people would literally have to go to the subreddit to set up matches
because the netcode was horrible. And yeah, so if in the sequel that they've announced, you can tell when a Japanese company has like figured out that like they need to be competitive outside the United States when in the trailer they highlight that they have rollback netcode because the original Grand Blue Fantasy did not have it, and that severely hampered the online play because, as you pointed out, like the lobbies plummeted because it was hard to get good connections. So people who were very interested in like getting better, or people who were any good at the game, couldn't even really play online consistently because the games you would have online would not be representative of a real competitive game. If you got like 3 frames of delay, it's like, well, you might as well not even be playing. Yeah. So
I felt like I tried to play, not competitively, but I tried to play online because I wanted to do the ranking system, and I was like, oh, I want to see how far I can rank, blah, blah. And after a while, I got to a certain rank where I was just like plateauing. And so I was like, I need to go back. I need to practice combos. I need to do this. I need to have some shit ingrained and then go back and see how far I can climb. And by the time I felt comfortable enough to come back,
it was all gone.
It was gone.
Yeah.
It was gone.
You know, Dragon Ball almost had the same thing happen, but the difference between those 2 games is that Dragon Ball sold like 6 million copies. So
niggas are going to play it regardless.
Yeah, so even though it did not have rollback at all.
Wait, oh my god. Z sold 6 million?
Yeah. I think it's more. I'm just thinking at the time when it was hot. I think what is the final? I don't know. I think it's like 7 million, somewhere between something like that for the final tally.
What the fuck? What?
Yeah. It sold a lot. I mean, it was going to sell a lot. 8 million, yeah. It sold 8 million copies in total as of today.
But made so much money. Oh my god. And that's not even including the DLC.
Right. Well, the reason there is DLC is because it sold so well. But so what I'm saying is that game has horrible netcode. It has the same netcode that Grand Blue has because it's the same engine. It did not have rollback, but and they were adamant that they were not going to add it. And so that damaged the game a lot. But the player base is so huge that you could still, and to this day, you can get matches and they're half decent. Like they've done some things to like clean shit up. But when your player base is tiny, it means that you're more likely to be matched against somebody, you know, in Japan or somewhere else in the world, rather than someone who might be, you know, 400 miles away, you know, or 300 miles away, which is still pretty shitty. But like that's why the game collapsed, was because the netcode was ass. So if you look at the trailer for the
basically it was only worth it to like play locally.
Yes, which you could not guarantee because of the player base, and also you need good matchmaking no matter what in any fighting game, because
so if a nigga at the gaming cafe is just wrecking niggas, it's not really.
Yeah. And you like, it's a delicate thing because fighting games, nobody likes to constantly lose, right? Yeah. What you really want is to constantly be riding that edge where you're winning about half your games and you're losing the other half, right? When you're learning to come up. The only way to do that is to have really, 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 really strong matchmaking, which is able to identify the abilities of a player and put you against people who are at your level. But in a way, you could write the best matchmaking algorithm on earth. If you don't have a big player base, then each of those little segments of player skill levels is not going to have very many people in it. Meaning that you either get matched with the same people over and over again, or like you get matched with the same small number of people, which is a problem for your netcode because those people may not be distributed geographically in a way to guarantee good connections. Yeah. So that's one problem. The other problem is that if your matchmaking part is bad, you get the best netcode in the world. If I'm getting my face pushed in by grandmaster players who can do one link, you know, OTG, one touch kill combos off of a single bar, I'm not going to learn anything. I'm just going to get frustrated that like I'm getting annihilated, and then I'm going to put the game down. I'm never going to pick it up again. So you see there are these two giant problems. One is technical, and then the other one is popularity based or skill based, or player population based rather, that have to be balanced. And Japanese fighting games already have a small audience in the West to begin with. Because if you compare Grand Blue, I'm sure you tell me, the gacha game, the mobile game, I'm sure is in like the top 10 of popularity. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to make all these other games. I'm assuming anyway. It's very popular. That doesn't necessarily translate to the fighting game. So they have to do something to make sure that even if they can't have a huge community, that you can get a good game. And it looks good. I like it. You know they have a Fall Guys based mini games they're adding to it too.
Oh, is that this Grand Brews Legends?
Yeah. Yes.
What is this?
It looks cute actually. I'm down for it.
Oh, it looks like it's the avatars for the live fighting lobby.
Yes, but you're like doing like Fall Guys stuff.
Oh, that's cute.
Right.
Now, see, this is more in brand. I mean, but they're so Cygames has no problem putting the money where their mouth is. Like they have the money, like hands down. They have and it's not even just Grand Blue. Like they have so many successful IPs at this point. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, and that's gonna release on PC also.
Yep.
So I'll definitely be picking that one up again. Even if it's just a play with, like, you know, the beginning hype and see what happens. But you said the netcode is better, so we'll see. But I'm just still not sure if the IP itself is, you know, disseminated enough in the global for it to, like, stick around compared to everything else that's out right now. But I don't really know what the fighting game community is, like, on right now anyway.
Well, the fighting game community is ruthless, and this year is going to be really good for us because we're getting
variety-wise.
Because we're getting new Street Fighter this year. We're getting new Tekken this year. We are getting all the updates for King of Fighters, which was really, really good last year and looks to continue to be good this year. We're getting Grand Blue. That's true. We're getting the announcement, I don't know if it's going to come out this year, of whatever NetherRealm's new game is going to be, which rumored it might be Injustice 3.
Oh, wow. There hasn't been an Injustice for a while.
Yeah, we don't know. It's not clear what the game is going to be. But we're getting a new NRS fighting game. And I just think in general, a lot of classic games have been, ones that have PC ports especially, have been getting rollback netcode. Either in a new release or added to existing releases. So I think fighting gamers are going to eat good regardless. There will most likely also be an announcement of the Dragon Ball sequel.
Are there enough of them to sustain
that's a good question. I think that relative to all of games, it's still a niche. But
yeah,
but again, the IPs often sell themselves. Like I think Mortal Kombat 11 sold 12 million, 14 million.
Yeah,
those are not all fighting game players who bought that game.
That's nostalgia. Oh, I played this game.
It's just fans of Mortal Kombat bought that game. And now converting somebody who just likes Mortal Kombat into a fighting game player is difficult.
Yeah.
And so a small number of those people are going to want to go online and they're going to want to get competitive. Same for Street Fighter. Street Fighter, people who are not in fighting games don't realize how fucked the Street Fighter IP was, going back basically to when Street Fighter 3 came out. Like that was like Street Fighter 3 was the beginning of Capcom fucking up Street Fighter. And it got a little better after the release of the second release of Street Fighter 4, but you can just draw out all these flops, all these games that just did not perform well and made the community upset, made people want to move to other games. But like Street Fighter 6, I think is the first time in a long time that there's big excitement, not just for the game being good, but also it being a game that's accessible to a large audience and looks very modern. Tekken 8 is just going to be a very good looking game, and I think Tekken sold very, very well. So, within the confines of how well a fighting game can do, you don't need to sell 1 million copies, or you don't need to sell like 10 million copies to be a success and to live a long time. But you do. It's not enough these days to just show up and say, "Oh, we're doing a fighting game based on your fit." Like if Genshin Impact was like, "We're gonna do a fighting game," I wouldn't expect that to be enough.
Yeah.
It's not gonna revitalize a community, even if it's sold a bunch of copies. The game has to be good, but the fundamentals, the online, the balance, like DNF Duel is kind of similar to Grand Blue in that it comes out of like a mobile game or a browser game.
Yeah.
It actually did quite well.
I like the style, the aesthetic of DNF.
Right. It didn't cost a shit ton of money to make. It looked good. It had a built-in audience. It's gotten a lot of support. The online was good pretty much from the beginning. They had some issues with matchmaking. So, like, all in all, this Grand Blue sequel looks like they actually learned quite a bit, and I'm sure there are still lots and lots of people. I mean, the first one sold pretty good, like, especially for it being, like, a budget game. So, like, this one, I think, will probably sell better, and it looks better, and it's got better online, theoretically. So, it's going to be good, regardless.
Yeah. Cool. So, for recommendations, all I have for a recommendation this week is to go watch Digimon Ghost Game Evolutions.
Oh, shit.
Because they look so good. But, I mean, Digimon has always looked good with their evolutions. But these are, like, transformation scenes. Like, but they're also the mega evolutions. But, okay, let me be very clear. Go watch the mega evolutions of Digimon Ghost Game. There are 3 main characters, so there are only 3 of them so far. But the song that plays during the mega evolution and the evolutions themselves, some of the designs are cool. Oh, and, the guy that voices Zoro is the voice of one of them.
That's funny.
So that's like, it's like, oh, Zoro's fighting this evil Sphinx. Okay. Cool, Digimon. Because literally niggas lit in the comments were like, that's Zoro. He's fighting. He's just dual wielder now. He's not tri-wielding. He's dual wielding. So
right.
Either way, I actually just like discovered those today. Just random, because I don't know how YouTube's algorithm works, but it just put it in front of me. And I just clicked it and I was like, bitch, this is Digimon? What the fuck is this? And then it went down a hole. So, go watch them. They're cool.
Okay, well, then I'll just double down and say, go watch Digimon Try. It's great.
Oh, I still haven't watched Digimon Try.
Great,
oh, fuck.
Great. It's great.
And it's done.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's just freaking great, man.
Damn.
Like, I've recommended it before, so that I guess I'll give something else. But like, man, what a great message. Animation is awesome. If you are a fan of the original series, it's got something for you. If you've never seen Digimon before, it is its own story, and especially it's aimed at a slightly older audience. Like, no, I mean, people are getting like decapitated. It's not like that kind of adult, but it's like the writing.
Wait, aren't they doing more with like the other the second generation?
Yeah, the 100%.
Okay.
But this one is about
Tai.
It's focused on Tai, but like the themes are about getting older, but also how you relate to the people and the relationships that you left behind as a result of getting older. And obviously they're not middle-aged, but they are certainly like this. It's not explicitly a story for children. Wherein like Digimon can transcend that, but it is ultimately aimed at young people. And this deals a lot with like the next step after being a young person, which I appreciate quite a bit. And it just looks great. And Digimon was always more engaging to me from a story perspective than anything Pokemon ever did. So
absolutely.
So that's one thing. Another, I'll recommend the 8th Mobile Suit Team Blu-ray, which came out in 2013, popped back on my radar very, very recently. Just a fantastic series. I think I've said before that if you're going to get an introduction to UC Gundam, that's worth a watch. Additionally, I forgot that there was actually like a 10-minute like OVA or special sort of mini episode that came on that Blu-ray that I'd seen but forgotten. It's called like A Battle in 3 Dimensions. And like it's a little bit of extra content that fits neatly in between the early episodes of the series. And watching it just made me feel like, man, it is time for a remake. It's time for them to like. Let's just give it the full remake treatment. Yeah, because that was new. We got new
the supplementary stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, so there was like a movie that was something's report. It's like that when Shiro gets arrested when he's on trial. There's a movie that is sort of summarizes what would have been. So Eighth Mobile Suit Team was actually supposed to be more episodes planned, but they cut it. And so the movie version has some scenes that are not included in the TV episodes. But I think this is high time since they're already revisiting a lot of stuff from the original Gundam. Like if you want to look at a series that would be a perfect vessel for exploration, maybe there's gaps in the story that you could fill in. And like even watching that little 10-minute new episode that they put together in 2013, you just immediately get right back into the rhythm and the feel of 8th Mobile Suit Team. And it's like, to me, my favorite representation of the Gundam series, period. Like, I love it so much. And all the beats are there, all the like character interactions and like the visual storytelling and the mecha design and like the much more grounded combat. Like it's all there in 10 minutes. It's like a perfect pilot for a new 8th Mobile Suit Team series. I would love it.
This makes sense though, because Witch from Mercury is a success.
Yes.
So what better time to follow up?
Oh my god.
The end of Witch from Mercury being like season 2 or season 3 and 4 of Witch from Mercury approved. Also,
8th Mobile Suit Team remake. Do a movie. You do like a Kukuru's Doan's Island or Hathaway's Flash. Yes.
They should do something like Origins.
Yes. There's so many things you could do with that IP again or do more with. It is just so much fun to go back and watch it. So I'm just recommending 8th MS Team in general is just like a fun short watch. But specifically, go if you have access to it, go find the Blu-ray edition or the stuff off the Blu-ray and watch Battle in 3 Dimensions. It's only 10 minutes, but it's a good like. This is what it would look like with modern animation because it was done in 2013.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's it for this week. So, if you're watching, comment down below. Let us know what you thought of it. Otherwise, you can find us on Twitter, anime_savants, and then everywhere else on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. You can find us just regular Anime Savants and your podcast platform of choice if you're listening through, your ears. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Definitely give us a rating. Give us the old thumbs up, hit the bell if you are subbed on YouTube. There's been some weird stuff going around where subscribers are not having all of their subscribe channels recommended to them in their feed, so that helps us out a lot on that platform. Any other place, leave a review, however you feel, or just reach out to us online. I'm available on Twitter at Neural Handshake, all one word, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay. We will see y'all next time. Bye.
Peace out.